webcam, you got a computer, you got it. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Let me get my notes off.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I don't want to put this wherever you. I mean, it's kind of bulky, but
I wish this had. I think at one time it
word to
did.
the wise, you can move any of the media stuff that you need to.
Really? What happened?
What are they going to do to you?
Does it make a noise though on their
I mean, it might, but it's better to move them out of the way than to be making a bunch of noise on their microphones. So
right.
I'm going to start recording now so that I don't have to come up here. And I'll just pray that it keeps recording.
Amen.
Good luck.
Good morning. I am Laura Keener, Communications Director for the Diocese of Covington. Thank you for being here. Today is an historic and joyous day in the Diocese of Covington. Bishop Roger Foys is here to announce the news. It is my pleasure to introduce Bishop Foys.
Good morning, and thanks for coming. We appreciate it. Before the formal announcement, I want to introduce Archbishop Joseph Kurtz, who is our Metropolitan Archbishop. and want to welcome him, and he has a few words of welcome for us. Archbishop Kurtz.
Thank you so much, Bishop Foys. I want to begin by expressing on behalf of the province of Louisville, which are all of the dioceses in Kentucky and in Tennessee, all 7 of us, are grateful to our Holy Father for an announcement that Bishop Foys is going to make. I'm kind of, if you remember, if you're young enough or old enough to remember this, I'm Ed McMahon. But I want to join especially with Bishop Medley and Bishop Stowe, who are here today from Owensboro and Lexington, respectively, in welcoming the bishop who will soon be announced to you. Before I do that, I say a real big word of thank you to Bishop Foys. As many of you know, Bishop Foys in 2 days will be celebrating his 19th anniversary of serving as a bishop within the Diocese of Covington, and has done it in a sterling way, and we are very grateful for his leadership. His reward has been to be named the Apostolic Administrator to keep working a little longer. And so we're very grateful for that. But the bishop whose name you will soon hear visited Louisville, Kentucky once. And he visited in order to prepare for the reception of the new Roman Missal. He never told me how well the conferences were, but I told him I'm glad he found Kentucky a second time. And we welcome him, and I'm going to give it back to Bishop Foys to make the announcement.
I'm not answering my phone, honestly. I'm just trying to look something up here. As those of you who are from here know, I abhor technology. I think it's the work of the devil until you need it. But so this is an announcement that we have been waiting for some time, and now it's not going to come up. Well, anyway, I can't get service here. We've been waiting, I think it's something like 342 days. We've been waiting for this announcement. And that's from the time I sent my letter into the Holy Father. I'm sure that some have been waiting for this announcement for many years. But so when I got the call from the Apostolic Nuncio, who announced my successor, and he said, well, you should call him. And he gave me his phone number. And when I called my successor, I felt sort of like John the Baptist, when he was waiting with everyone else for the Redeemer, for the Messiah, who would set them free. And I was in mind of St. Matthew's Gospel, chapter 11, verse 3. Are you who is to come, or do we have to wait for another? So he is the one who is to come. And I've known him these last several days, but the conversations I've had with him lead me to believe, I'm confident, that he will make a wonderful shepherd. He is a pastor with the heart of a shepherd, and he will do a wonderful service and ministry here to the people of this wonderful diocese of Covington. I've told him that he's inheriting a wonderful presbyterate and our diaconate, the religious we have, consecrated religious, and the lay faithful. It is just a wonderful place to be, people of God whose faith is deep and whose loyalty to the church is sure. So he has wonderful credentials. He's been a parish priest. He's been in administration. And he celebrated Mass for us this morning in the Curia Chapel. So I'm very, very glad to welcome him. And I know that you, along with myself, first of all, will not only welcome him, but pledge him our support. And most importantly in these days, our prayers as he begins to take the reins of the diocese. So it does give me great pleasure. Oh, by the way, it rained today, okay? And some of the people here are familiar with this story. And I don't know how many more times I'll get to tell it, but I'll have to tell it one last time. When my uncle was being married, my Uncle Joe was being married, it was pouring down rain. Everything was dark outside, thundering. Those were the days when weddings were early in the morning. This was at 11 o'clock in the morning. And I was the ring bearer. And I was standing in the back of the church, with my little cummerbund and tuxedo and hat. Even then I was a really fashionable dresser. And my aunt-to-be was just crying something terrible. And my grandmother said, "What's the matter?" She said, "Look at the rain. It's ruining my wedding." And my grandmother took her hands in hers and she said, "Now, Pat, in the old country, for us, that would have been Slovenia. My grandmother was from there. She said, in the old country, when it rains on the day that you are married, it means you will never shed a tear during your entire marriage." Well, that brightened my aunt up. She went through the ceremony with no problem. So later that summer, I was spending some time with my grandmother, and we were eating lunch, and that came to me. And I said, Grandma, that was great what you told Aunt Pat. She said, "What?" I said, "About, in the old country, when it rains on your wedding day, you'll never have a tear in your marriage." "Oh," she said, "that's not true. I just had to stop the woman from crying." But whether it's true or not, I take the rain today as a sign of God blessing us in our diocese and God blessing our new bishop. So I want to present to you Bishop-elect John C. Iffert.
Thank you. Thank you. My goodness, there are so many microphones up here, I almost don't have room for my notes. I am the man formerly known as the bishop soon to be announced, and my name is John Iffert, Father John Iffert. I'm a priest of the Diocese of Belleville, Illinois. Belleville, Illinois is that part of Illinois that nobody thinks of when you think of Illinois, right? We are the 28 southernmost counties. If when you think of Illinois, you think of Chicago, you are not thinking of us, right? In southern Illinois, I used to say to my college classmates who were amazed that I had never been to Chicago, I would say to them, my hometown is literally closer to Little Rock, Arkansas than Chicago, Illinois, right? That's where I'm from. I am astounded and deeply grateful that this morning Pope Francis has elected me to serve as the 11th Bishop of Covington and called me to share in apostolic ministry. I thank the Holy Father with all my heart for this election and this call. I am inspired by his vision of a church so deeply rooted in relationship with Christ that we accompany the outcast, tend the wounded, mourn with the brokenhearted, rejoice and give thanks in every circumstance, and so carry out Jesus' mission of evangelization. It is with joy that I dedicate myself to this happy labor, rededicate myself to this happy labor now with you in the Diocese of Covington. I pledge my respect and support to Pope Francis and to the ministry of unity that he exercises in the church in his person. I ask you, please, to continue to pray for his health and his full recovery as he convalesces after surgery. I'm also grateful to Bishop Foys. 19 years he has served you here in the Diocese of Covington, faithfully, diligently, and with a pastor's heart for those who are suffering. Since he learned that I would be his successor, Bishop Foys has been a true Christian gentleman to me, gracious as the day is long. I am most grateful for that. I look forward to the opportunity to know him better, to be his brother bishop, and hopefully his friend in Christ. And I am very grateful to Archbishop Joseph Kurtz for his presence today for this announcement, as well as Bishop Stowe of the Diocese of Lexington and Bishop Medley of the Diocese of Owensboro. Their presence today gives me the sense of being well supported as I take my first shaky steps toward my life and ministry as a bishop. and my first introduction to the Catholic Church in Kentucky. I look forward to cooperating with them and all the bishops of the province for the proclamation of the gospel. Finally, I want to thank my family. My parents are John and Mary Iffert. They're at home today. About 3 weeks ago, my mother took a fall from the deck outside their door and broke her hip. But thank God she's doing well. She's back home, and she tells me that the ordination is just the motivation she needs to stick to her physical therapy and get back on her feet. I have 2 sisters, Kim and Kathy, 6 nieces and nephews, now 14 great nieces and nephews. I love you all, my family, and I thank you for your support. It's kind of annoying. I'm the bishop-elect, but my sister Kim is the one that everyone comes to me and says, your sister is a saint, right? She has worked in a local nursing home there in my hometown for more than 30 years, and she is kindness personified to these folks. And so I can't say enough good about both my sisters, my whole family. I always say that the only lottery in this world that counts is the family that you're born into. And I am a winner of that lottery, and I'm most grateful for that. To the priests, deacons, religious, and lay faithful of the Diocese of Covington, I cannot wait to get to know you and to pray with you. From the moment that I learned that I would be your bishop-elect, I have been praying for you. Every time I pause and turn toward God, you are the people who come to my mind first. My agenda, as I come to the Diocese of Covington, is just that, to get to know you. I want to visit with you in our parishes and schools, to celebrate Mass with you, to hear from you why you love our faith, and what burdens you carry. I would like to see the art you create. I would like to hear you sing. I want to attend your games. I want to celebrate the special events that are happening in our communities. Of course, I look forward to sharing the sacrament of confirmation with many of our young people and greeting those who are embracing the faith for the first time at the rite of election. You, and being church with you, are the stuff of my hopes, prayers, and dreams these days. Please, once I am consecrated and on the ground here in Covington, invite me. I want to be asked. My brother priests, thank you for your commitment to the priesthood of Jesus Christ and for the many ways you love and serve the people of God in the Diocese of Covington. I hope that we will be the closest of collaborators. I will always try to be available to you, and I will make every effort to treat you as I would like to be treated. By the way, I want to take this moment to invite every active, prayerful Catholic young man. If you're listening to this and you're a grandparent or a parent and you have an active, prayerful Catholic young man, stop them and make them watch now, right? I want to invite every active, prayerful Catholic young man to spend some significant time, maybe 6 months, learning about the life of a priest and discerning whether God might be calling you to the priesthood of Jesus Christ. Call the vocations office, talk to Father Connor Kuneth, get a book, watch the videos, befriend a seminarian, do something to ask God if this is the life for you. Because let me witness to you today, this is a joyful and fulfilling life in the midst of loving, dedicated people and communities. If God is offering you life as a priest or religious, you do not want to miss this. It is an adventure and it is a joy. So please, please, every Catholic young man, consider life as a priest and if God is calling you there. The hardest thing for me to talk about is myself. I was taught to pray as a kid like this, right? You fold your hands. Did you all learn this at Vacation Bible School? You fold your hands. You pray first for those who are closest to you that you hold in your heart. Then for those who are in authority, right, with your pointer finger. And then with this finger for those who you have difficulty getting along with, right? Your ring finger is the weakest finger of your hand, so there you pray for the weak and the needy, and then finally, last and least, you pray for yourself, right? I have difficulty putting the attention on me. I'd rather it be on you and on Jesus. I'm a priest. I'm a pastor. I've been a priest for 24 years. I've been a pastor. I've been in parish ministry for 20 of those years, a pastor for 16 or more. In addition to celebrating the Eucharist and being there as Christ uses my hands to nourish you and me with the bread of angels, the moments that I love most in my priesthood are what I call those aha moments. When I or another has some increased understanding of the faith, you know those moments where a person's faith brightens when they say something like, I get it now, when their eyes start to sparkle and you see this sort of mini transfiguration going on? I live for that. That's the stuff that gives me energy. I think of moments of visiting the sick, of making decisions about end-of-life issues, about mourning the dead. I think of interacting with school children and the ones who have difficulty sitting still during the Mass. I think about extending my hands over the head of a penitent and pronouncing God's mercy and saying to many, as I might say to you someday, gentleness is a virtue. You owe it to yourself as well as to others. That has been the meaning and purpose of my life, and I love it. I am a priest who loves being a priest. I am a pastor who loves being a pastor, and my whole goal is to come here to know you, to listen to you, and to find a way together that I can be a pastor to you here in the Diocese of Covington. Finally, I have one more item on my agenda. I want to beg you for your prayers. I was confirmed in the 7th grade at Sacred Heart Church in DuQuoin. I was 12 years old. I chose St. Isaac Jogues for my patron because he was the patron of the summer camp that I went to. In a children's book about St. Isaac, it said that upon arrival in Quebec after a difficult crossing of the Atlantic, he immediately went to the chapel, fell to his knees, and prayed. And this is what the book said he prayed. Wherever I go from here, Lord, let me be strong. Make me a man after your own heart. I took that prayer as my own, as a way of sharing a life of prayer with my patron saint. I have prayed that prayer, I believe, almost every day since I was 12 years old, several times a day. While in seminary, I was given a copy of Johann Baptist Metz's little book, Poverty of Spirit. And while reading that book, Christ impressed on my heart the centrality of self-emptying love as the heart of the gospel. So I amended and expanded that little prayer. I built a wing onto the cottage that I had been living in my prayer. And so I say that prayer this way now: Lord, wherever I go from here, let me be strong in faith and poor in spirit. Make me a man after your own heart. I've prayed that prayer every day of my priesthood. When I pray a rosary privately, I pray that prayer between the decades. I pray it for myself. I pray it for you. I pray it for my bishop. I've been praying it for Bishop Foys for the last 2 weeks. I pray it for our Pope. And now I will pray it for the people of the Diocese of Covington. The rite of ordination and the installation of a bishop is scheduled for Thursday, September the 30th, 2021, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, across the street here, at the Cathedral Basilica of the Assumption, here in Covington, Kentucky. At that hour, 3 o'clock, September the 30th, the memorial of St. Jerome. Please pray that prayer with me and for me. Pray that I can be strong when strength is needed for your sake, and weak when I am tempted to be too full of myself. know that I will be carrying you in my heart that day and asking God to make us all men and women after his own heart. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bishop-elect Iffert. Thank you, Bishop Foys, and thank you, Archbishop Kurtz. Is there anyone from the media who might have any questions? Yes, Annie?
Hi, I'm Annie from Sacred Heart Radio, just over the river in Cincinnati. I actually have a couple of questions, if that's okay. First of all, I just want to know what are your ministerial priorities?
Like I said, the only priority I have coming in is to get to know the people and to be church here with the people of the Diocese of Covington. I am new at this. I've been doing this now about 12 minutes, right? And so I cannot begin to establish my priorities until I know you better, right? And I know the needs of the diocese. You know, my priorities are those that I talked about at the beginning in general, right? That we grow in discipleship and faith in Jesus, that we express that in the way that we serve those among us who need us, right? And that we bring all of that back to the Eucharist and raise it up to God with thanks. I was born on Thanksgiving Day. That's something that I always begin every biography with. I was born on Thanksgiving Day. So to take all of that and to wrap it up in thanks, that's what I want to be about. That would be my priority. But a specific kind of strategic plan, that's going to have to wait. Yeah.
And by the way, congratulations.
Thanks.
Can you just tell us the story of getting the call from Archbishop Christophe Pierre?
Yeah, so I mentioned I'm a parish priest, right? 9 months ago, I was asked to serve my diocese as Vicar General, but we are a tiny mission diocese, right? And I've been doing that job for about 9 months. By the way, I should thank my sending bishop, Bishop McGovern, right? Thank him for choosing me to be his vicar and for his accompaniment the last couple of weeks. I respect Bishop McGovern so much, and I'm very grateful for his mentorship over this last year. So I had no reason to expect this phone call, none whatsoever. And I was visiting one of our senior priests at the priest retirement home a week ago yesterday, and we were talking about an issue that has been dogging the diocese for a few years. He had done some research for me and put together some of his memories, and we had walked through that, and we were sitting and just visiting, getting ready to go down for dinner with some of our priests. It had been the tennis tournament for priests. I don't play tennis, but I do enjoy dinner. So I was going down to have dinner with them. So I was sitting and visiting with this retired priest, this senior priest of the diocese, and the phone rang, and it was a 202 number. I recognized that as Washington, D.C. Honestly, I thought if I was lucky, it might be Cardinal Wilton Gregory who would give me a call. He's the bishop who ordained me 24 years ago, or someone who was calling for him. And so I said to my brother priest, I've got to take this. He left his apartment, went out into the hall, and sat in the hall so that I could take the call. And honestly, when Archbishop Christophe Pierre introduced himself, I didn't know if it was a friend playing a joke on me or what was going on. And so he introduced himself and told me that the Holy Father had some interest in asking me to be the Bishop of Covington. He asked if I knew anything about Covington. I said, very little, right? And then he waited, and there was dead silence on the phone. And we waited for seconds. And he eventually said, well, how do you feel? And I said, I feel astounded. And he laughed, and he said, I'm glad you feel astounded. And I realized he was waiting for an answer, right? I don't know, am I supposed to be talking about my conversation with the papal nuncio? Okay, it's okay. I'm still learning how to do these things. I realized he was waiting for an answer, and then I gushed out how honored I was by the Pope inviting me to do this. And something occurred to me later that day as I was praying. At least for a moment, my name had been presented to Pope Francis. And Pope Francis, at least for a moment, knew my name, right? And then knowing what I know about Pope Francis and the pastoral care he offers to us all, I thought, it's very likely that the Pope has prayed for me, right? And I just had the greatest experience of the universal church in all of that. And then I'll be honest with you, I'm a talker. Did I mention that? I'm a talker. I'll tell you, the very next thought to me was of a lady from Vienna who I had met a few days before. Vienna is the way Southern Illinoisans say Vienna, all right? So this lady was from Vienna. It's a small town between Metropolis and Marion, Illinois. And she said to me, I know you. I said, great, how do you know me? And she says, I was at your ordination. I still have that little red bookmark, the cross made out of ribbon. And she said, every time I see it, I pray for you, you know. And so right after thinking the Holy Father might have prayed for me by name, I thought, this old lady in Vienna is praying for me by name every day. And what a miracle that is, right? And it's just as likely in the metaphysics of God's spiritual life and the way he works that her prayers had as much to do with this appointment as the Pope's decision. And man, you realize something like that and you just melt, huh? And that's where I was. That's the process. I went to dinner and I sat there enjoying a Diet Coke with our retired priests and the guys who had played tennis, and I couldn't speak to anybody, right? And 5 minutes later, Bishop Foys called and offered his assistance and welcome, and it meant the world to me. So I took that call in the chapel and stopped and prayed in the chapel for a few minutes before joining the guys for dinner again. So that's the process. That's how it happened. Before that, I don't know anything.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes?
Yes, thank you. Hi, good morning. I'm Mary Steph from Belleville, Tennessee. I have a question for you. Considering the last year that we have been in, both with the pandemic, people not coming to Mass for various reasons, health, personal hurt, or family issues, walking away from faith, you are now to be in charge here in Covington. So what is your message to those who have walked away from church, attending Mass, maybe their faith together? What is your message to them?
That's a great question. My favorite image of the church is the house or school of charity, right? We are a school for charity. We are a school for compassion and mercy. We learn those lessons of charity and mercy by coming together, by sharing a life of prayer and a life of companionship with Christ. And we knock up against one another in this church of ours, right? When I was a kid, I had a little rock polishing kit. Have you ever had one of these little rock polishing kits? And you put a little rock in and you let the drum spin, and bumping up against one another, the rock gets polished, right, till it shines, and then you make something beautiful out of it. That honestly is one of the central visions of the way I think of church. That's who we are. Sometimes in that process of purifying, being instruments of purification for one another, being instruments for growth and charity for one another, sometimes feelings can get hurt. Sometimes people can get alienated. Sometimes we can be too presumptuous, right? And so my vision for inviting people back is to apologize for the mistakes I have made and that we have made, to try to make amends as best we can, and to constantly invite, to try to be a better man, a better Christian, a better priest, and to encourage those around me to live the same way, so that we can welcome our brothers and sisters with open arms, so that we can really be a school for charity together with one another. That's the only strategy I know right now, right? And we'll build from there.
Very good. Thank you. All right, well, that concludes the press conference. There is a press packet that was available as you came in. If you didn't already pick it up, you can pick it up on your way out. And I will also send the information digitally to all of you here. And if you give me your email address when you signed in, I will use that email address. Otherwise, I'll just send it to the studio. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your help.